Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode here on Switch City, where we're doing our power rankings, looking at each team leading up to the season, looking at their additions or subtractions, who they kept, players I think that fit in well with this team, players that I don't think necessarily mesh well, and honest my record prediction for each team at the end of the season. If you guys have been keeping up, you guys know we're into the top 10 already, and we've been hammering out these teams left and right. So if you've missed some, and this is your first time tuning in, make sure to check out the other videos to find out about other teams. But as you guys can tell from the thumbnail, as you guys can tell from the title, in today's episode, we're going to be breaking down and talking about the Denver Nuggets. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, as I still think they're going to be a tier team in the Western Conference, but ultimately, I still think there are some teams that are going to be better than them. So we're going to break them down and dive into all of it. Let's get into it. So, like I said, with every team, we're going to be looking at their additions, their subtractions, and their departures, basically going over who's coming into this team, who's not coming into this team, and figuring it all out. And for this Denver Nuggets squad, they didn't really have many moves compared to some of these other teams that we've broken down that had massive overhauls. For the Nuggets, they went out and brought back two players. They went out and signed DeAndre Jordan and brought back Jamal Murray on a 4-year extension. Now, Jamal Murray's extension was one of the bigger talking points through the entire off season, and it was nice that the Nuggets were able to get that done with him. For additions, they went out and acquired two players as they went out and brought in Dario Saric on a 2-year deal and also brought in Russell Westbrook, that's right, to fill in that backup point guard spot to bring in some nice playmaking off the bench. He comes in on a 2-year deal after being bought out by the Utah Jazz in a 3-team deal. And they had two key departures, one of them being Reggie Jackson, who departed via trade on the Hornets, where the Denver Nuggets ultimately traded him away to the Hornets to offload his salary, bring in Westbrook on a cheaper deal to fill in that role, and also losing Kadavius Caldwell Pope. Now, this Nuggets team has been, critiqued for losing some of their key players after winning a championship, losing Bruce Brown, losing Jeff Green, now losing Contavious Caldwell Pope, and their roster has kind of diminished because of that and kind of believing into some of this younger and youth movement that this team has. As we can see from looking at their roster, courtesy of Spot Track, we obviously know they have Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, the big four, obviously, in their starting lineup. And now with KCP being taken out, they're going to have to find that role and replace it. They're going to be bringing in Christian Braun to be that replacement in this role. And I think he could maybe not live up to that KCP role fully, but he could be that filler for them right now. We've seen Braun be a scorer and a pretty solid bench piece for this Nuggets team, and hopefully he can take that leap for them in this starting lineup. They also do, like I said, have Russell Westbrook to bring him off the bench to be a playmaker and facilitator off this team. And we saw in Abu Dhabi him hit some big time threes as well. This team also does have some young pieces as well. Julian Strother, Peyton Watson, Deron Holmes II, the rookie that they drafted this year, who unfortunately suffers an injury, but they do have some young talent they are developing, willing to kind of buy into and hoping to kind of take over and help out with this team. Like we've said with the new CBA, with abundance of other teams, it's a little difficult for a team like Denver to kind of bounce back. They want to save some money. They don't want to go deep into the tax. So losing players like Bruce Brown, Jeff Green, KCP are going to have to do, but you have to believe in these younger guys. You have to draft good and you have to hit on those picks. So believing in guys like Peyton Watson and Julian Strother, some more defensive pieces and key players. Also believing in Christian Braun, who can be that secondary additional scoring depth for your team as well as what the Nuggets are going in. So let's look at some players that I think fit well with this Nuggets team and some players that I think necessarily don't fit well with this Nuggets team as well. So when looking at players that I like and I think fit well in this team, one of the players that I think that a lot of people don't necessarily think fit well, but I like with this fit is Russell Westbrook here. And Westbrook is going to be a nice additional playmaker for this unit here. Obviously, as we all know, with KCP kind of be taken out of this roster, he wasn't mainly a playmaker, but was a pretty good catch and shoot player and pretty good scorer for this team. Even though Christian Braun's going to fill in that role, they do need some additional ball handling and some helping out in that guard with Jamal Murray being realistically the only point guard on the roster here with this squad. So having Russell Westbrook being able to lead that second unit and help out will be great. Jamal Murray also did play two in college, and even though he's translated to the point guard in the NBA with his smaller size, there could be some lineups where if you wanted to run a big lineup, you could ultimately throw a lineup with Jokic, Michael Porter, Aaron Gordon, Russell Westbrook, and Jamal Murray. And I think that could finish some games as well in some instances where Westbrook is going to help out be a defender. But Westbrook will primarily see his duties being on that second unit, leading that team and kind of being that engine, that motor, and leading that unit. That's where he's found his best success basically since the Lakers, obviously with the Clippers last year. he was obviously mixed with James Harden and had to come off the bench, and it found a good role for him when he was with the Clippers team playing with players like Kawhi and PG. He was finding himself some similar success with that more of that second unit. So I feel like with Denver, with this team, they kind of realized that, and he's kind of realized that in his career as well. Jokic also was a big proponent in bringing in Westbrook to this team, which a lot of people don't necessarily see the fit with that. But I think Westbrook can help out with Jokic and being just a hard worker, player that wants to win, and that's someone Jokic wants in his locker room after a disappointing loss last season in the playoffs. So I think he's just happy to have Westbrook there and just have that great personality with him, a hard worker, a player that has that winning mentality like himself. And I think that Jokic might be able to catch some lobs from Westbrook as well. And another player I really want to discuss about this Denver Nuggets team is Julian Strawther. And I'm not going to lie, you guys, I did not know much about Julian Strawther before this preseason. But this preseason, he's kind of jumped out to me. And I'm kind of happy that I had the Nuggets, obviously, as a favorable team because I wouldn't have been high on him. I wouldn't have known much about him. But now that I've seen him play through the preseason, I definitely am keeping my eye on a player like this. And like I said, similarly with the Nuggets losing KCP and bringing Westbrook to be that similar guard, we all know that the Nuggets a couple seasons ago lost players in Bruce Brown and Jeff Green, were some versatile wing defenders helping out in rebounding and be able to just basically play everywhere and help out on defense, which was so successful for this Nuggets team and their switchability and just having guys that could play multiple positions in positionless basketball with Mike Malone, just be able to send units and threats at different opponents and changing the game style and gameplay each time. They had that depth, they had that kind of ample effect. And with losing Bruce Brown and losing Jeff Green, it kind of hindered them a little bit in that department. Yeah, they had a player in Peyton Watson and Julian Strother who were trying to live up to those moments, but were both young, a little bit inexperienced, and didn't have that momentum kind of going into the season with inexperience with like players like Bruce Brown and Jeff Green. How obviously had Jeff Green being an NBA veteran for multiple seasons. But now we're kind of seeing Strother kind of and Watson kind of get used to that, and Strother specifically in this preseason really get into that off ball movement and kind of being a helper on the off ball side of the basket. Side of the ball, which I love to see. And in Abu Dhabi, he was a fantastic defender, really helping out this, against the Celtics with this Nuggets team being basically everywhere. He was just running everywhere on this court, just helping, being a fantastic help defender, and I really like that. He also, at his size is a pretty solid guy and is pretty quick. He also had some great attacking at the rim as well in his scoring ability. So I think he's a player to keep an eye on just to see some untapped potential to see him kind of grow within this Nugget system. And I think, including myself, a person who didn't know his name before going into the preseason, a lot of fans are going to realize who Julian Strother is with this team and how he fits in with this Nuggets squad. Now with the Nuggets, like multiple other teams, there's not really players that I dislike, but there's players that I don't necessarily think fit. And not that I don't think that this player fits in Zeke Naji, but his name's been thrown around the trade block. His name's been in the rumors for years and years and years. So that's why I'm understandably gonna kind of come to this conclusion that he's on the trade block. Denver's looking to move him, and that makes sense. He's a viable young big. He presents himself. He's on a bigger contract as well for this Nuggets team, so he is a little bit of a movable contract for him, and there's no really hole or role for him to play. Obviously, they have other big men in this rotation in this team. They just drafted, obviously, Deron Holmes. He's hurt, but he was supposed to make some big impact plays for this team coming in. They also have Vlatko Kankar, who's more of a power forward, but can slot into that power center position. They also have Charles Bediako on Exhibit 10. They have PJ Hall on a two-way. So they have other players that can kind of fill in and slot into this. They also brought in Dario Saric in that big man group alongside DeAndre Jordan. So ultimately, it just seems like the position is pretty thin for the Nuggets, especially with already having Nikola Jokic, who is one of your better players already, and your best player already playing that position. And it just seems like Najee's just not going to have moments to grow or kind of fit in with this team. And for a young player that deserves to get that opportunity, he should find himself that role. So I do think the Nuggets will look to move him and trade him to a team that can showcase him those skills and give him that ample opportunity where the Nuggets can then again find a role to kind of fill in a replacement. Maybe some of these young guys can't really step up in that wing department role. Maybe Strother and Peyton Watson look good in the preseason, but it doesn't deliver during the regular season. You go out and acquire a 3-and-D wing. Maybe you need some additional guard help. Maybe you need some additional shooting. Go and find whatever you need and move a player in Najee to get that. I think that's what the Nuggets are going to try to do this season, and I think around the deadline we'll see something happen. So ultimately, like I said, that's my kind of breakdown for the Nuggets. There's a lot of players that I do like. I think Obviously, Strother, I think Sarge could even be really nice. Peyton Watson and Russell Westbrook can add to this team. But ultimately, I think the writing is on the wall for Zeke Naji, as there's just too many big men in this group, and they've already tried to trade him since last season. But let's get into my record prediction with this team, ultimately where I think they're going to fall. Like I said, the record prediction is wonky, so don't take it for legit. And I did not grab it on the screen, so I'll get it for you right now. Fortunately, it is 58 and 24 for the Denver Nuggets here, coming in at fourth place. Sorry that I do not have it, but 58 and 24 coming in at fourth place here in the Western Conference. I still think there are three teams that are going to be better than them, and it's going to be a close gauntlet race. But you can't stop Nikola Jokic, the three-time MVP, and they definitely deserve to have some respect atop of this ladder with having him still under contract. Jamal Murray is still one of these better players. He turns up in the playoffs. Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr. both helping contribute with this team. Obviously, losing KCP, one of their best role players, is huge. But having players like Christian Braun and Julian Strother and Peyton Watson needed to step up, and believing in those young guys is something we'll have to wait and see. The Nuggets fully do believe in them, fully think that these guys can turn into these types of role players in the future. The Nuggets will still stay atop of this Western Conference, and we won't see anything change. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. What do you guys think? How do you guys feel about this Denver Nuggets team? Where do you guys ultimately see them falling in the rankings? Do you think 4 in the West is too high or too low? Let me know down below. Once again, you guys have been absolutely fantastic supporting the channel and the revitalization of it. I've been really, really supportive of it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, hitting the like button, hit the subscribe button. And if you do enjoy the content, make sure to hit the like and subscribe, as it's really appreciated. Once again, I'm Bruce Velez. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you want to find out more information, check out the Twitter down below and the description to get all my other NBA news. But I'm signing off. Have a great rest of your day, and peace out, everyone.